So here we are on the home page, and the first thing you'll notice is that along the top here we have a menu bar with quite a few different drop downs. At the far left of the menu bar you'll see this house icon. This is actually very useful. Anywhere you are in the MLS, one click of the mouse you can return to the home page. So we're going to use this house icon quite a bit. Now, during the course of our classes, we're going to go through in fact all of the commands really here in the menu bar. But before we start, I want to look at these icons on the right. And the first one you'll see is this one that says speed. This is what's called a toggle. So it's either off, which it is now, or it's on. And you'll see that when it's on, it appears with a bar there on the home screen. So off, on. Now, at the left end of this bar, you will see this blue question mark. And you'll find this in other places in the MLS. Basically, it's offering to show you instructions on what to do with that particular item. And you'll see that it says there are a bunch of different things you can do with this speed search. My personal opinion is there are two things it's good for, and it does that very well. The first is to search by listing number. Now, we all know that Realtor.com shows the listing number for each property. So let's say, for example, that your client's been out surfing Realtor.com and they call you up and they say, I've got these two listing numbers, can you please set up an appointment? So notice when I put the first listing number in, over here on the right it says it's found one listing. I can put as many listing numbers in as I want. All I do is separate them by commas, no spaces, just a comma. So I'm going to put in the second one, and 3632, very good. And you'll see that now it says there are two. So you can put as many as you want in, separate them with a comma, no space, and then you click on the magnifying glass and it's going to show us the results. Now, what we're looking at here is the one-line grid. You can sell that up in the top right here on the display. And the only difference between what I have here and what you have in your screen is that I have these little pencil and paper icons. Now, on my personal MLS account, I do not have this. This is purely because this is a training account. So don't feel cheated. You're not missing anything. It's not something that regular members get. Now, anything that is blue and underlined in the MLS is a hyperlink. So if we click on the listing number here, it's going to take us straight to that first listing, and then we can use these arrows up here at the top to maneuver between them and look at the information on the various different listings. Okay, so let's clear this search up here, and then what we're going to do, the other thing that I find this very useful for, is searching for an address. So let's say, for example, you're on your way into the office and you see a sign at 657 Foxwood. Notice that as I finish typing, it shows in the right here 4 listings found. When I click on the magnifying glass, it's going to show me those 4 listings. Now, obviously, this is basically the same property. For some reason, they've put the city as out of area on this listing. I have no idea why. But notice that these listings, we've got 2 sold properties, one back in 1998, another sale in 2007. The property tried to sell in 2011 and now it's on the market in 2012. This tells us that basically we're going to see a history for this property. Now, in our immediate area, that being Pasadena and Glendale, we've got about a 15-year history. Across the whole of Southern California, we've got about a 7 to 8 year history. So any listings on that particular address are going to show up. Let's try a different address, and this time let's do 333 Louise. Now it's going to show us that we've got 35 listings, and when we click through you'll see that we've got several different types. Well, first of all, it's obvious that these are condominiums, and you'll see that we've got them going back. In fact, there's one back here in 1997, a sale in 1997. And then we've got residential lease. And what the heck is residential income doing over here? Well, when we click on it, you'll see that this is actually a different Louise. This is East Louise in North Long Beach. So be aware that it's going to find anything with that address. Obviously, we're looking at the whole of Southern California. So if there is a similar address, it's going to come up on this search. Now, there are other things that it tells you can do with the speed search. Personally, I think the 2 things I showed you are the things to use it for. When you're not using it, turn it off. We're in the business of real estate. It takes up space. Okay, let's get rid of it. It's very easy to bring back. Okay, and I actually just inadvertently clicked on the thing I was going to show you next. Okay, so let's go back to the home page, and the icon to the right of it, this green plus sign, this is another very useful thing. Let's say, for example, that you're in the middle of a long and complicated CMA, and your client calls and says, what about 123 Easy Street? Well, you don't want to lose everything you're working on. You can open a new version of the MLS by clicking here, and you'll see now that I have 2 versions of the MLS open. Now, a word of caution. If you don't make an entry on the MLS in 60 minutes, it's going to kick you out. So if you leave empty sessions open, all of a sudden you'll get a message saying you're about to be kicked out of the MLS, and you're going to say, what the heck, I'm working here. Well, my advice, when you've finished using it, just close it. You can have as many of these open as you want, so it's a great tool. Now let's look down the page. Notice that there is a big lump here, and this is a message from your MLS staff, and we only post things here when we think we've got something important to tell you. And this is different than the message you'll find occasionally in your broadcast notices. So do make sure to read these when they come along. It's important, okay? And the rest of the page is made up of these what are called modules, these little rectangles. Now the first thing to know is up at the top right here, if you go to Customize Homepage, you have total control over which modules you show. So if you like a nice, clean, tidy desktop, you can turn off the ones that you never use. Let's go back to the home page. Now, some of these modules are more useful than others. And possibly the most useful you'll find down here on the left, and it's the 24-hour market watch. Now obviously you cannot see this when you log in the morning, but never fear. Watch my mouse. As I go into the header for the module, you see how it turns into a 4-arrow thingy. If I now press and hold the left mouse button, I can drag this where I want it to be on the page. In other words, you can make the home page exactly what you want it to be. You can move your things around. A lot of people find that the agent tools are useful, so you can move them around exactly how you want them to be. Let's come back to the 24-hour market watch. You'll see that these numbers are enormous, and obviously none of us are going to go and look at 1,000 listings. So how do we make this useful? Well, right now it's showing us new listings across all of Southern California, and most of us really have no interest in that. So we're going to go to Admin, Your Preferences. Now if you come to this and you're looking at a bunch of blue lines, just come up here in the top left to Expand All. And where we're going is down to the end of the first section here, so 24-hour market watch areas. There are several ways of putting things in here. My advice, just use one, and that's the entry box. And this is a smart box. So let's say, for example, you have a client who's looking in Encino right now. Notice as I start typing, it limits it to just areas with that word in. And when I click on it, it's going to put in the abbreviation for that rather than the actual thing. Let's say I also have a client looking in Sierra Madre. Put in too many E's there, Sierra Madre. So again, it's going to show us that, and again when we put it in, it's going to be the abbreviation. And let's say we have a client looking in Sun Valley. Again, it's going to show us everything with Sun, and when I click on it, it's going to put the abbreviation in. It's very easy to change what you've got here. And my opinion is that this is where less is more. If you use fewer areas, you'll use this tool more. So just come back and take out, for example, if my client buys an Encino, I'll come back and take it out, and we don't need to see it anymore. So let's come up and click Save. And now when we go to the home page, you'll see that the numbers here are much, much smaller, and you're going to use them this way. So let's click on the number 9. It's going to show us the 9 new listings that have come on the market. And hopefully it's going to show us a couple of different property types. Yeah, there we go. We've got 7 residential, 2 residential lease. It's going to show you everything. So if there was lots and land in those areas you chose, it would absolutely show them to you. And if you want to see the details, again, you click on the blue hyperlink and it's going to show you the information. And then you can use the arrows to move between them. Okay, so a very, very useful tool. Again, less is more. There's another very useful tool here called Single Sign-On. You are in a secure environment, and what that means is that you can now go to another secure environment without putting in a password. So for example, if you want to go to the commercial database, all you do is click on commercial, or if you want to go to the NAR Realtor Property Resources, RPR, you can just click and go through. The first time you go in, you'll have to set it up. Okay, so that's very useful. And then the listing locator is also very useful. Now, a lot of the things you can do in the listing locator, you can do with the speed search. But the list price lookup I find very useful. So let's say I went to Caravan this morning, saw a house that was 596,000, can't for the life of me remember the address. Well, I can come here and I can look it up. And you'll see that we've got, this really does show you how large an area we cover. Huntington Beach, Canyon Lake, San Pedro, all over. Notice that the first couple here are 596,000, and then the others are different numbers with a letter V after them. This means that they are value range listed properties. If you see them with 876, that's a dead giveaway that it's a Prudential listing. So what it means is that you have a high price as your listing price, and then if you scroll down, it has a value range price. Now the advantage of that is that any search between those two numbers will bring up that particular property. So it's a perfectly valid and useful tool. Just remember that when you see this V, it means it's a value range priced property. Let's go back to the home page. Okay, what else do we want to look at on the home page? Okay, let's have a quick look at the agent tools here. Just about everything that we're going to do using these drop downs, you can do from the agent tools. I'm going to demonstrate everything from the drop down menus, but on your own you might prefer to use, for example, to go to a new listing, go to enter new listing here, instead of going to listings, enter new listing. So just be aware that there are various other things here that you'll find helpful. And we're going to go on in just a second and look at customizing the MLS. Thank you.